Hey guys, it's Julia, and for today's video I'm going to be reviewing a book that just came out very recently, and that is November 9 by Colleen Hoover. I was not sent this, or I'm not being paid to talk about it or anything. I honestly just pre-ordered it and it came in the mail many days early than it was supposed to, but I'm not complaining. I already did read it, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So yes, the book is about a girl named Fallon and a boy named Ben, and they meet, and Fallon is about to move to New York, and she's not just going to stop everything for him. So they decide to meet up every day on November 9, the day they met, for a year, and they kind of give each other like a little homework throughout the years of like, they'll meet up and then they'll give each other like some little things to do, so then they're not totally involved with a love life and they can explore other things and grow up just like anybody else would. And there's a lot of reasons behind why they chose a year. There's a reason why they chose to meet up once a year on this exact date, which you'll learn more throughout the book. I don't want to give you too much of a background synopsis, but that's basically what it's about. I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite Colleen Hoover book. I was a tiny bit disappointed. A little bit disappointed. I really love her writing. I've read most of her books. I read
We Love, Confess, Land, Point of Retreat, This Girl, and Hopeless.
So I read 7 books by her now. I also read this in less than a day, so if you're looking for something really fast paced and that will get you out of a reading slump, I really recommend this, because honestly any Colleen Hoover book can get you out of reading slump very fast. Her books are very fast paced. This one was not that long. It's like about 300 pages, and they're very fast paced and easy to read. So if you're in a slump, Colleen Hoover is for you. Also, something with this book, it was hilarious. Like, there's times where I was actually like laughing out loud. Like, it was so funny. Just some little things were like hilarious, and I just loved that to it. And the characters, Fallon sometimes irritated me. I mean, like, there's nothing that really sets her apart from so many other female characters. Like, there's one thing that does, like, part of her appearance, but other than that, there's nothing, like, her personality wise that sets herself apart from anybody else. So she was kind of just meh, and she kind of got on my nerves. She was kind of irritating, and yeah, meh. Ben, I really liked. He did do some stupid things in this book, obviously, because Colleen Hoover has to have her twist. But yeah, also, I was waiting for this. While I was reading this, I was kind of like, yeah, it's okay so far. Some things really bothered me, like all the sexual humor and the little sexual comments kind of got annoying, and not that I'm like, ew, I don't want to read it. It's just, it made me kind of feel uncomfortable. It was like so uncomforting, like, it was so uncomfortable, and it was just unnecessary to the plot, and I don't know why they were there, like the little sexual comments and the little sexual humor. I just didn't like that. It kind of was just there, and it kind of annoyed me at times. I was waiting for her big reveal, because like of course there was stuff happening, but I just felt like it was kind of like so far, and I was waiting for something to happen, and that finally happened. But I felt like it happened way too late on in the story. It happened like 3/4 of the way through, like almost at the very end this thing happened, and I was just like that made up for a lot of it for me personally. But I still found that it could have been there earlier, and it could have been built upon, and we could have actually seen our characters like more together than they were. But yeah, so that's all I have to say for the non-spoiler section. I did give this a 3.5 out of 5, so not the worst, not the best Colleen Hoover book I've ever read. Actually, I think this is the lowest rating I've given a Colleen Hoover book, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was the worst, the one I enjoyed the least. It's just, yeah, breaking it apart piece by piece is the one I gave the lowest ratings. That doesn't mean it's bad. I still recommend it if you are a fan of Colleen Hoover. It just wasn't, most of it wasn't really my taste, just sexual comments, sexual humor. It kind of got annoying. Like I've read things that are worse. Like, it's not like erotica, like don't expect that. It's just the little comments, and the characters weren't that great. Like, I usually love her books for her characters, and in this one they were just like you know, they were just so I'm gonna get into the spoiler section now, so if you haven't read this, I'd really recommend leaving so I can talk about the book, and so you will not be spoiled. And if you're staying, wonderful. But yeah, if you're leaving, bye. Hi, spoiler section. November 9, Colleen Hoover, let's go. So we start off the novel with them meeting, and Fallon is meeting with her father, and her father is a asshole. But he is basically a famous actor. I believe he was a famous actor. And so they were at a restaurant eating, and then this guy came up to him, and he's such like a brat about it. Like his fame changed him, her father, and she was also a very successful actress, but she was caught in a fire, and that got her burn marks on the side of her face and down the side of her body. And like, if you're a main role in a show, they're obviously going to notice these huge burn marks. And I don't know, she got fired from her company and she was dropped by her show. So that didn't work out for her. So she's been struggling with just her appearance and the fire for a long time. And the fire actually occurred on November 9, which I found interesting. And she's meeting with her dad, and this guy kept looking at her, and she always thought that people just like won't look at her, like they'll just glance at her, notice the burn marks and look away. But he was like staring her right in the eye, and she could really appreciate that. So she kept, like, she was just there, and her dad was yelling at her because she wanted to move to New York because she wanted to get on Broadway or do some more, she wanted to go to New York so she can do some more auditions and try to make herself, like, you know, do good things for herself. You know, she wants to get more of a career after it was ruined. And by the way, I do have hair. It's in a bun, okay? But yeah, so that was happening, and then she was like, they were kind of talking about dating for one moment, and he was like, you haven't had a date in 2 years, so I don't think that's why you're moving. And then that boy staring at her in the eyes earlier came up, and he was like, hey girlfriend, how are you, blah blah blah. And then he was just trying to be her fake boyfriend for the dinner, just to kind of impress her father. And so he did that. The father was not impressed. He was actually pretty pissed off. And Fallon just kind of went along with it. She's like, sure. And then after, they kind of just, like, when that conversation ends, they just kind of play out the fake boyfriend-girlfriend thing for a little bit. And just start talking about it. And the story goes on from there. And they decide, and, like, they went on, like, a date or whatever. Didn't they go on a date? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they went on a date. And after that, Fallon was telling him that her mom always said between, I think, the ages of 15 and 23 or something are the ages that girls change and develop the most. So she was saying, you'll never be able to find yourself if you're lost in someone else. So her mother was saying, don't date till you're like 23 or something like that, because you have to find out more and get more of a gist of who you are before you date someone else, is what her mother believed. So she kind of respected that, and she told him that they weren't dating or whatever, but they would meet up on the same day every year just to keep in contact. And she was moving, right? So she's not going to see him much anyways, but they decided to do that, and they can give each other homework. It was so cute because he was writing a novel about their story, and I love when she made him read a bunch of romance novels. And he was like, holy crap, these are like drugs. Like, these are great. And I'm like, but that part was so good, and how he was writing a love story, and it was called November 9, and it was about all their encounters every single year for 6 years, and it was so good. I really liked those aspects of it, and I really liked, like, just some little things were like really nice. Of course, there were some things I didn't like all the sexual humor just really got on my nerve. Like, what panties was she wearing? What this, what that? I'm like, I don't really care. I don't really care for the humor. Fallon got annoying throughout the novel, and I just wasn't about that. And I also love that Fallon was like a major reader, and she's talked about her TBR pile. And he's like, what's a TBR pile? And she's like, my to be read pile. And it was so cute. And I just loved how, like as readers, we can really, really relate to her and her TBR pile, and just some phrases that were used can really connect. Like, we can connect to, we can relate to, you know? But the conclusion of the story was like the best part, and that's when we figure out that Ben was the one who started the fire. So it turns out that his mom committed suicide, and she left this note. And essentially this note was like, you know, a goodbye letter or whatever, but he didn't read it right away because, you know, he just figured out his mother killed herself. He went on her phone. He saw like the last text that was ever sent to her was from this guy, and that was Fallon's father, the famous actor Jackass. And he went to this guy's house because he assumed that he might be responsible. Obviously he was acting on impulse because he was very hurt at the moment, and he saw him with this beautiful car, and he was kind of thinking like, why don't you hit the car? He was like hitting this rag or something, and it just went on from there. And there's this thing of gasoline, and he was gonna set his car on fire, and the fire got really big, and the whole house ended up catching on fire as well. So that was his fault. My camera is dying, gotta hurry this up. So he's the one who started the fire because he thought that her dad was the one who was a part of the reason why his mom committed suicide. And then the day that they met, that's because he was going to see his mom's grave and her dad was there, and he kind of followed the dad to the restaurant, and he saw the girl there, and he's like, oh my gosh, is that the girl who was caught in the fire that I set? And then that started everything. But when Fallon found out, she was so pissed. But at the end, of course, they make up, and he gives her the whole novel to read for a whole explanation of why he did it, and they forgive each other. And I love how the mom read the novel before her, and she was like crying, did this actually happen? You have to read this. It was so funny. And yeah, so those are my basic thoughts. Not basic, but those are my thoughts on November 9 by Colleen Hoover. It wasn't a bad book, it wasn't an amazing book, but I did enjoy a lot of aspects, and I didn't like some aspects as well. So yeah, I'll have the Goodreads page for this link down below, as long as my Goodreads is always down there in case you guys want to read my full review if you are curious. I did not include spoilers in that review because I wrote the review like a couple days before I'm actually putting this video up, so I couldn't put spoilers in it because it's not even out, you know. I didn't want to do that. But so yeah, those are my thoughts. I'll see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye. Wait, I forgot to say something. Something that was I wish we had more at the end was like, we didn't really get to see them together now. Like, they're gonna stop meeting up every year. They were gonna like actually stay together, and he says that he's gonna propose to her and stuff in like another year or something like that. I don't know. We know they're getting married, obviously. That's meh. But so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you soon. But I just really wish our characters had more time to bond and be together. Like, be together, not like meet up once a year. But yeah, I'll see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye.